When you create an Excel workbook solution, you should give it a consistent structure so you know where each data point appears in relation to each of the others. For example, let's say that you have a workbook that accepts suggestions from visitors to your store. When a user fills out the suggestion box form, the data gets transferred onto sheet 3, where you have their name, their email, and their suggestion. In this case, email is always one cell to the right of the name cell in the row, and suggestion is always 2 cells to the right of the name. The distance between 2 cells is called the offset, and you can use that offset to create VBA code that lets you read and write values efficiently. So let's take a look at how I do that in this workbook. The first occurrence of the offset property is here. Offset takes 2 arguments. The first argument tells Excel how many rows up or down it should move. That is the number 1 here. The second indicates how many columns it should move left or right. That's here, represented by the 0. What that means is that this line of code will activate the cell 1 row below and 0 columns to the right or left of the active cell. When you create a reference using offset, for the row, the first value, positive numbers move down and negative numbers move up. So in other words, if this were -1, 0, then Excel would move up a row if it was available. For the columns argument, negative numbers move you to the left, positive numbers move you to the right. So for example, if this offset were -1, -3, then Excel would move up 1 row, again, negative value, and move to the left, again, negative value, 3, because the value would be -1, -3. You can put in the value yourself, or you can use a variable as long as it contains a whole number. Now let me show you how this works in this particular workbook. If I switch back and fill out the form on sheet 1, it was Kurt. My email address is cfry@techsoc.com. That's one of my many. And concur on the cinnamon. Now if I run the macro, Excel adds my values, adds my input to sheet number 3. It put the first item, which was my name, in the first cell, and then it went to the offset of 1 column to the right. That would be offset 01, and finally offset 02, again using this cell as a base, the active cell, the one that has the border around it, to write my suggestion. So looking back at the code, you can see that it's here. After it accepted the values, it wrote my name in the active cell. It wrote my email address in the cell 0 rows up or down and 1 column to the right. And it wrote my suggestion 0 rows up or down and 2 columns to the right. The offset function lets you reference other cells rather than selecting them, so your code runs more quickly. Anytime you need to read or write values from cells that will be a known distance from a given cell, you can activate the target cell and use the offset function to make your code run more quickly.